So this is our third bye week, and it has been a long one. It is 15 or 16 days long. So we're pros at it. We've been through two already. I've never been through a season with three bye weeks, so this one was a little different. It was a challenge, and it's long. So we are coming off of a get better week for us. That's typically not the approach I take during a bye week. You know, we usually get right into the opponent. This week we did. We took a step back. We evaluated a lot of things in the program, different situations on both sides of the ball. We addressed a lot of that. We worked a lot on situational football last week. We looked at a lot of our foundational stuff on OD and special teams, and tried to shore up some of that, improve some technique, and clean up some things. And then we jumped into law tech towards the end of the week and just finished up our second practice this week heading into Friday night's game. So I like where we are right now. We had some an edge in practice today, which was nice to see, and that's a good sign. We got people flying around, and we were physical, and I thought we played fast today, and we got after it a little bit. So good signs, and we're going to have a polished day tomorrow, and then we got to gear up for this trip to Louisiana.
Let's go ahead and get our first question from Colin Leon.
Hey, Coach. Bruce was curious about what's Hunter's status. I know he went down, I think, against UTEP. Just kind of any status on him. Is he practicing, and if he could be ready to go against La Tech on Friday?
Oh yeah, Hunter's completely cleared. He's 100%. He's practicing, and he'll start on Friday night.
Awesome.
Coach, you just talked about just working on you all selves and things during the off season, but during the bye week. Just what were those conversations like among staff, things like that, as you all kind of worked on things? I mean, what was the biggest improvement that you saw from you all during this time off?
Well, there's a natural process in any program that goes on when the season's over, and you evaluate every aspect of the program. That doesn't always happen in season because you just don't have the time. Now, again, we had our third bye week. We practiced and got the things done that we wanted to. We met early on in that 16-day period, 15-day period, just to discuss what we wanted to evaluate so that we could make an assessment as to what we want to work on, during the additional week, the bonus week. So we looked at everything from recruiting to staff to the way we're practicing to technique. And it's not like we want to change just to change. We're not really changing what we're doing. We believe in our process. But what do you find after the season when you evaluate things and you self-scout your team? You find things that you can improve on. You typically you're not afforded the time in season to make as deep an evaluation, but we did have the time last week, and so we took it. And that's what prompted, the probably the increased focus and the emphasis on a lot of situational football, not just any one area, but it included everything: coming out, red zone, low red zone, goal line, short yardage, 2-minute, 4-minute, the whole thing. And so we just felt like situational football was an area that just all season there are standards we're not meeting at times, and it's hurting us on game day. And so we addressed it last week. And I think our guys are aware of what we changed and what we tried to improve, and we're going to try to make it, play out in the game plan on Friday.
Thank you. Question from Ben Souls.
Yeah, early in the season, it looked like Dylan Frazier was getting the majority of the snaps at D tackle, but the past few weeks, Darian Jackson has kind of taken a bigger role and got more snaps there. What have you seen from him, and what kind of role do you expect him to play going forward?
Well, let me say first, it's nothing negative against Dylan Frazier. Dylan, actually, we're elated with Dylan. I think he's kind of progressing a little bit into a little bit more of a leadership role with us. It's more credit to the rest of the guys. You know what I mean? We're playing DJ more, we're playing Shafan more, and it gives us an opportunity to roll through more at the position, which is what we want. We're trying to develop depth at the position. And truthfully, we wish we could get everybody on the team above the standard that exists in their position room, and it would give us an opportunity to roll through a lot of guys. Now, we all know that that's not what happens on a roster with 105, but you're always in search of, you're always trying to get as many of your guys in your position room above the line, meaning we feel like if we put them on the field, they can help contribute to winning. And what does that do? That gets more of our guys on the field, right? That's on campus recruiting right there. The other thing is, you have more people with a huge stake in the game on game day, and we're able to stay fresh. And that's probably the number one deal. We're able to stay fresh. I alluded to eliminating 25 reps from A.J. Brown's game reps back at Ole Miss, and his productivity went up when he went from 83 reps a game to 58 reps a game or whatever it was. And his productivity went up because he wasn't as exhausted, he wasn't as fatigued. That's the scenario that we're in search of at every position. And so with the emergence of a couple of the guys on the D-line, we are now able to play more. You see DJ and Shafan getting better and doing some things that we want, and they're doing it at a higher level now, and so it gives us an opportunity to roll through more guys, and so that's a good trend in that room right now.
Bolton.
Against UTEP, it felt like Hunter was playing probably the best ball of the season. What have you seen from him since he's been back on the field after his lull to see that continue against the Louisiana Tech?
Well, this is with reference to Hunter, but I always say just in general, when you have a guy that is ultra competitive and passionate about the game, who also has a talent base, you know what I mean, who also is talented enough to play good ball at this level, and he has the work ethic. It's almost impossible when you have those three things. And having a guy that has those three things is not nearly as easy to find as some of you might think. But when you have those three things, it's almost inevitable. It's a matter more of when, not if, they're going to become really, really good at the position they're playing. And Hunter is super passionate about the game. He's super committed, and he's ultra competitive. And so that's one area that box was checked the day I got to know him. And you can tell by the way he handles himself. He is prepared extremely well and grinded. And he's a talented kid. And so, those three things are coming together on the field. He's enjoying the mental part of it. I think for everybody, but also for Hunter, being able to play week after week, having a regimented schedule, where you can prepare and get right back out on the field on Friday or Saturday, I think it helps a lot of players. It has been a challenge, the 3 bye weeks, and this one came at a good time because it gave some of our guys that are injured, including Hunter, an opportunity to heal and get through protocol and get back out on the field and have a good amount of practices in preparation for the game. But he has systematically gotten better every week. I think we've seen that the most the last 3 weeks. And he was near perfect decision-making wise in the first half of our last game. And so that bodes well for us. It bodes well for the offense, and I'd love to see that continue, against La Tech.
Let's go back over to Fobbs.
Coach, when you look at La Tech, just they're ranked first defensively. What's the most concerning aspect about this defense to you, or even about this team when you look at them and prep for them?
Well, they're first for a reason. I mean, you always say about any one player, you want a guy that's a total package guy, and they're really hard to find. A total package defense to me would be what you're looking at in the La Tech defense. They are, I think, very well coached. I think they're very well coached. You don't get a lot of people out of position there. They also know their system. They know how to fit the run game. They know how to adjust to motions and shifts and formations. They handle tempo well. They do all those things. It's obvious they got off to a good start when they installed everything and did everything, and they've got everybody in line there. So they're playing good football, and they do a good job against the run. They fit the run up really well. I think they're extremely talented on the back end. They've got 4 or 5 guys, individual guys that I would say we need to be aware of where they are. I wouldn't say they're all game changers, but they're all pretty good. I mean, they're exceptional at their position in that defense, and to me, that's a total package defense. They do a good job against the pass. They fit the run up well. They're great in pursuit. They tackle well in the open field, and so this will be one of the better defenses we've seen this year, and so we've tried to take advantage of the 2 weeks to prep for these guys.
Colin?
Speaking of the coaches for La Tech, what's been your take on head coach Sonny Cumbie?
I've known of Sonny from afar for a long time because he was at Texas Tech in a long line of great quarterbacks that played for my mentor, Mike Leach. So I was around every year the entire time that Coach Leach, Mike, was at Tech, and so I sat in a lot of those QB meetings. The only quarterback I never really got to know personally was Sonny. And so we had good conversations at Conference USA meetings. Easy guy to talk to, very personable. We had a number of good conversations. To me, very likable guy, and I respect what he did as a player, and I respect what he's done as a coach. It's intriguing for me to watch what he does offensively at La Tech, and so much like a lot of the coaches that we've faced this year, I've got a lot of respect for the program Sonny's running right now, and a lot of that the positive comments I had about their defense, I would mirror that on the offensive side. They're well coached. They know what they want to do. They run complementary football on both sides. They kind of matches, and so you can tell what their philosophy is. I think they play hard, and those are probably some of the best things you can say about a head coach and the way his program presents itself. And those are things that we value here, and so we certainly respect them when we see them across the line of scrimmage.
Colton?
We talked about the offense over the last 16 days, but on the defensive side of the ball, what have you seen kind of progress that you can translate to finish this season strong in these next 5 games?
So defensively, it's been a little bit different life this fall. I thought we started off the season doing some things really well, saw some things that were promising, tried to address the pass rush and some different things that we just ID'd, on the defensive side of the football to work on, like any offense or defense. But the only thing that I truthfully haven't been overly happy with lately is just our open field tackling. That's hurt us, both on base downs and on during situational football. It's hurt us on third down, and that's an area of emphasis for the defensive staff and our defensive guys. It's something we've worked hard on the last couple weeks, and we know that's an area that's a huge emphasis for us, and that's an area that we've got to perform better if we want to get off the field on third down and we want to perform on defense the way we expect to.
Colin Neal?
So this is around this time of year, that's when recruiting starts to pick up. As a head coach now that you kind of have to take on this new role, what's been your approach to recruiting like? And when you are out recruiting, what kind of guys are you looking out for?
So not to disagree with you, but as far as recruiting picking up, I'm not sure when it ever died down, truthfully. We have it's just been 100%. The minute we have an open hour, we spend it on recruiting. The minute we have an open evening, open afternoon, we spend it recruiting. We did a lot more last week than we have done during a normal work week because of the time. But I'm very, very happy right now with where our high school recruiting is. I think our recruiting coordinator, on-campus recruiting coordinator, our staff, we're organized. We have a plan. We know where we want to be. We're on top of things right now. I like where we are with our high school class. We feel like we're going to be where we want to be in December. And I think really, with as well as that's going, the sooner we're able to close that off, the sooner we can put, all 100% of the rest of our time into the portal recruiting that's obviously coming up in January. So X's and O's and prepping for the next opponent, winning the next game is top priority. And there's only one other, and that's recruiting. And so that's what we do. That's what we do opposite prepping for the games. And, without saying anything, I really can't. We've got our game plan heading into this portal window era, and we know we don't have two like we had last year. So the game plan's a little bit different. We'll be a little bit more aggressive about it, and I'm looking forward to it. But at the moment, we've got to focus in on La Tech.
Cole,
Outside noise this season has been big. I'm just curious how hard it is to kind of keep the same thing every week with the 0-7 record and just keeping everybody's focus on between the lines.
So the outside noise issue, I think, is more puzzling to me than some because it's never been an issue for me. I don't have time to read or listen to anything. And so it's always been blinders. Let's lock into the next game and move on. And whether you lost the last one or you won the last one. And I think equally sometimes, we were doing so well at North Carolina at times that the noise our players were listening to was just too much positive praise. When you're not winning, you're listening to the negative stuff. And I wish if I could give anything to our players, it would be the ability to just block everything out, not pay attention, and focus in on the task at hand. But an 18 to 22-year-old sees life a little bit differently than I do, and our staff. And social media is a big part of everybody's life nowadays, and it's probably very, very unrealistic and naive to think that these guys aren't going to be aware of what's being said, whether it's negative or positive. And so we talk about blocking out the noise. We're talking about being a professional. We're talking about maintaining some composure and some poise. We need to do that on the field in game, but you need to do that away from the building also, because anytime something that somebody thinks outside and away from the program, who typically has no idea what they're talking about, and they get lucky and they're right sometimes, and oftentimes because they don't know what they're talking about, they're wrong. But when you let their opinions affect your daily routine, you're allowing somebody completely away from the program to affect your progress. And I think it takes a little maturity to understand that. I think it takes a lot of focus to maintain having blinders and working on what really needs to be worked on. And so it's a constant everyday challenge, and I don't think there's a coach in this country that doesn't feel that way to get your guys to stay locked in and focused regardless of how the season's going. I mean, I always say this, George Seifert, and I know I'm dating myself now, but George Seifert won the Super Bowl, and then they turned around and fired him the next year. And there's always somebody that's not happy with what you're doing. I am more concerned with the belief in the building that our process is a good one, that it works, and we all stay as dedicated to it as the day that we got here, and we're doing that. And we have full confidence, myself and our staff, where we're headed with this program. And right now, the most immediate deal is La Tech. So we're gonna put our best effort into that, and then we'll line it up and get ready for the next one. And that that's a boring answer for y'all, but that's going to be my answer every time because it's the way we're running the program.
let's get one more from Fobbs.
Coach, it's a lot of coaches have been trying to navigate the new NIL world and conversation with players and things like that. Now that you've been on the job, you're putting in the season and things. How's that gone for you in the program?
Well, I alluded to it earlier. It's something that really didn't exist here before, and it does now. And so it kind of changes our resources are very different heading into this recruiting season than they were in the past. And truthfully, like this transition to the FBS It's a 5-year transition, and this is the third year. This is the hump year. This is probably the most difficult year. Heading into next year, though, we are going to be playing home games for the first time since I've been here. We're going to have our new stadium. We're going to have greater financial resources, and we're going to have returning players that actually know the offense and the defense and have relationships with the staff. None of those things existed last year. There'll also be, revenue streams coming in after next season that don't exist right now because of the new stadium and the changes being made. And the thing that I know the most that I'm excited about is Dr. White, our president, and Bobby Williams, our AD, and everybody that's involved with our football program. They're all aligned. They all know what the emphasis and the priorities are with regards to putting our program where we want it to be. And I'm impatient, so I want it all to happen yesterday. It's a weakness of mine, no question. But I have fought to be patient. I know that we make progress every day. I also know where we're going, and I'm excited about it. But that's the head coach during the day. The head coach on the field and with these players has to be about beating La Tech. And so, there's 2 chapters in my day every day, and that basically describes what they are.